and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. We're talking about 2000's Cherry Falls, a movie that is currently considered the most expensive television movie ever, through a series of MPAA issues where this movie was only released on television and then later put out on DVD properly. So, Scott, you picked this one. How about you let us know the reason why?
So I have a story to tell about the struggle that it was to finally fall into Cherry Falls.
Okay.
So originally, I was going to have last week's slot, August 16th, which was to be my birthday pick because that was my birthday weekend. But then something happened with the scheduling. I think Matt popped.
I just fucked up. I put two movies down as the same day on the Trello schedule and didn't realize it until later.
Yeah, so no worries, no love lost. So I was like, okay, I'm not getting a birthday pick, so I am going more along the lines. So I was originally going to do Troll 2 for my birthday pick. It was between that and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I thought Troll 2 is a little bit more ridiculous. We've talked about it so many times in the last how many years that Matt and I have been recording together that it was about time. And then I rethought it, and I'm like, you know what? There are a ton. I mean, what can we fucking add to a discussion of Troll 2? You know, like we've already talked about best worst movie, and we've talked about Troll. I don't really think. I mean, Troll is actually a watchable film, whereas Troll 2 is just a hot mess. And I've never actually seen all of Troll 2, and so I was like, I'm not going that route. So if anybody ever wants us to talk Troll 2, you're gonna really have to campaign hard because I don't think there's anything for us to say that hasn't been said a million times by every other horror movie podcast, and there are a lot. Was like, okay, I'm not having a birthday pick now, so let's think more along the lines of school, like back to school. And then I'm like, okay, well, fuck me, I need something that I can really, get into that kind of is one of those forgotten, doesn't have to be a gem, but has to be forgotten, that hasn't been talked to death about on other podcasts, because we really toe that line with nostalgia, but also trying to do something fresh that hasn't been discussed by everybody else. And I fell on Cherry Falls. So I remember Jay Mohr as a cross-dresser, and the one line that I'm just going to get out of the way. The part of the movie that I wanted to discuss more than anything was when Alan M. or whatever from Josie and the Pussycats comes up to the door and goes, "Why are you wearing lipstick?" And Jay Mohr goes, "Because it makes me pretty." Because I ask Megan that sometimes, and she says it back because she's the best wife ever. So so Cherry Falls is kind of one of those movies. It's like Call Me by Blondie. It's that one where you forget its existence, and then when it comes back, you're like, "Oh fuck yeah, that!" It's like the snap, like Brian's talked about. So that's why I picked it. But I also am apologetic to you two guys because it's not a very good movie.
Well, so here's the thing. It is and it isn't. And we'll get into that. But so the concept of the movie is that there's a killer who is targeting virgins specifically. And we open with a guy pretending to be an alien. And I wrote, "Are you trying to tell me that the guy pretending to be an alien is a virgin? That's impossible." But it's a very surrealistic. I saw someone say that of the post-Scream movies, this is the one that feels the most fleshed out. Like it's not just like, let's just do what Scream did. And I kind of agree with that because you compare this to like a Disturbing Behavior or a I Know What You Did Last Summer or an Urban Legends, and they're all kind of just doing the same thing that Scream did. This, I felt like, took the meta-ness of Scream and pushed it one step further, which is kind of cool. The problem was that there was some dispute with the script. So, from what I figured out, in the script, the concept was that the orgy was going to happen, but everyone was going to be under sheets, and Brittany Murphy would be running through this house as blood kept appearing in the sheets as like people were just getting slaughtered in the blankets. And it was supposed to be this artistic concept.
That's fantastic, though.
the director was like, no, we need hyper realism, show everything. And it was this super gratuitous NC-17 orgy where you saw everything. Well, then the NBA was like, yeah, no go on that, my friend. So he had to cut all of the nudity out of
Yeah,
the orgy
there's
scene.
no naked. There's nothing in this movie. Like
No.
for a movie about teens losing their virginity, no one gets naked. The closest you get is Brittany Murphy takes off her top, but she's still wearing a bra. It's so
Yeah.
odd.
So they had to cut all of the nudity out. And at this point, the slasher thing had started to die down, and because of all that, it basically just was on television. They premiered it on television and then released it on VHS and the DVD until Scream Factory saved it and put it out on like a really big collector's edition release. Was just a double disc with some movie called Terror Tract, which was a anthology film starring John Ritter. So it really just was forced into obscurity, and I think that it is, someone referred to it as one of the better teen slashers from this time period, but also the least watched of all of them. And I kind of agree with that sentiment. It's not a masterpiece, but none of these movies really are, except for Scream.
Yeah.
But it is fun. I like, they have characters I love. I love Timmy, the like gossip colonist.
Oh yeah, the flamboyant gay man.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's so awesomely 90s dated.
Yeah.
Everything
Oh
that he
yes.
says.
And I love the fact that he has like this odd eye makeup on when you first meet him. It's a couple dots right by his eyebrow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so funny.
Yeah. And like just like that scene, and then you immediately jump into Jay Mohr telling the students about the murders. And he's like,
And
I'm sure
that conversation is so ridiculous. That whole scene feels very Scream to me though.
Oh, very much so. There's that scene where, you find where the comedy is. Because apparently the script was originally very, very funny, and the director cut down. He wanted to keep the satire, but he didn't want the comedy, so he cut a lot of the jokes out. But there's scenes that make me laugh, like when he's like, does anyone have any thoughts? And the girl goes, in 6th grade, I had a fight with Rod, and I told him to fuck off and die.
And then she just blubbers. It's so great. And then you see DJ Qual.
Yeah, who's barely in this movie.
Yeah, I completely forgot he was there. Oh, and then we also get Jay Mohr's sideburns, which are horrid. They look so bad on him. Like, I am a man that has had sideburns since 1996, and I will say that, or 97, I suppose. And I will say I've had times when my sideburns look bad, but I hope to Satan that they never looked that bad.
I am a big fan of one of my favorite actors who never blew up, Michael Weston. Who plays Ben, the weird kid in school.
Yes.
Who you've seen in every Zach Braff project because he's one of Zach Braff's best friends.
Is he the one that when the girl's like, how can you be so insensitive? And he goes, I find experience attractive, okay?
Yeah, that was a funny line.
Yeah,
he's great. He's the cop in Garden State.
Garden State.
Yeah.
Kenny, you're a cop now?
The last time I saw you were doing blow off a toilet. Ah, la, 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 la.
And he's also the star of one of my favorite terrible comedies, Evil Alien Conquerors.
He is.
Wait, he was in that?
He's the star. He's the guy who finds the evil aliens.
Ugh.
Do you know about the cow?
my favorite line in that movie is when he shows them they find the Playboy, and he keeps screaming nudies about it. But then he's sleeping, the one alien's sleeping, and he goes, nudies, nudies, nudies. He goes, hey buddy, what's going on over there? He goes, nothing. I had no dreams. But he also has the line where the rumors going around the one girl sucks a lot of dick. And
oh yes, can I please say the line?
Yeah, you can say it. She goes, is it true?
Oh no! It's when they're having the fight, and he goes, Annette, it's a compliment when a guy says you can suck a mean dick.
Oh, I was gonna say his joke that he has, where she goes, "Is it true?" And he goes, "No, she thinks fellatio is a Shakespeare character."
That is a good one.
And that's Timmy, right? He says that.
No, that's Ben.
Oh, okay.
Michael Weston's character, who is 100% like he is the Randy of this movie. They knew what they were doing
Oh,
with
yeah.
him right out the gate.
Yeah.
But the movie, like, it's fun. It's got like a nice pace. I like the characters. But Brian and I both had the same situation, which is that we had seen this movie a long time ago. And like I only remembered one scene, and we'll get there when we get there. But uh as soon as Jay Mohr popped up, I was like, oh God, I remember how this ends.
Yeah.
Oh, you hadn't remembered?
I did
No, I
remember
forgot.
I forgot. But as soon as I saw him, it all came flashing back to me. I was like, oh, wait, I remember a lot of scenes from this suddenly.
But Scott, I do have to apologize because I know I offended you when I
No, I
said what a
haven't.
dumb movie.
I have a quote from Brian that it seared into my brain because you've said it more than once. But I was on vacation in Canada, and Brian and Matt were messaging me saying that they were watching the movie, and Brian's like, "What a dumb movie," but I'm really forgiving of slashers, and I'm going to keep that in my back pocket forever.
I am very forgiving of slashers. I love slashers, but I also thought it was a dumb movie as I was watching it because I completely forgot the story behind why Jay Mohr was the killer,
Yeah.
and it was just like, it's the teacher. What a dumb fucking movie. I was just like thinking like I don't know. I was just afraid it was going to be like that M. Night Shyamalan movie, like The Devil, where it's like, oh, it's the old woman, and of course it is, because it doesn't make sense that it is.
But they actually give a reason. I get it.
Yeah, they
I
have to have a reason. Although the story behind it just seems like such a made up like it's just such a ridiculous, if somebody raped someone, made up story where it's like, yeah, they held me up and just threw me on top of her in and out.
But I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like,
and things just happened. But I mean, I this movie has so many, just like the dialogue is so fun. There's that one line where they find out, so they have a parent conference.
And it's just a brawl.
Well, because the one guy's like, what am I supposed to do? Lock my daughter up? And the one guy goes, I don't think that's going to be. But they get into a fight, and that's when the students find out that it's that they're targeting virgins, right? And the killer starts chasing Brittany Murphy. But thank God this school has a gigantic shark battering ram.
Oh my God.
Because that's amazing. But she gets arrested. We have the scream scene where she's held in the jail being interviewed, and then her friend comes in to like tell her information. She goes, everyone knows there's going to be a huge party. It's going to be a Hyman Holocaust.
Yeah, dude, you're missing a couple other ones too. That girl also she has a crush on Ben, right?
Yeah, she has a crush on his friend Mark.
Okay. So and she's like, Brittany Murphy's like, all you do is sit and watch him eat, and then the girl goes, my parents have been married for 25 years, and all they do is watch each other eat. But also, there's a character, his name is Kenny Ascot.
Yeah. Yep. Which just sounds like he's part of the Scooby Gang.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I want Kenny Ascot to show up in the new Scooby-Doo. So is her going to the microfiche, is that after she gets out of jail?
I think
she's
so,
like,
yeah.
Mom, what happened, Mom? What happened?
Yeah. That's after.
It's really unfortunate that Brittany Murphy,
died.
For her short life, died, but like, she really didn't know her talent, I feel like, in a lot of like things that she was in. She's above this movie. She really is. Listen,
this is one of those movies that she probably did for the paycheck. I mean, she was trying, but also there is some really okay, this is not really a chronological discussion for this movie, but rather an overarching theme that I find quite uncomfortable. The daddy-daughter dynamic of this movie is really weird. So she just I mean, Brittany Murphy is a 25-year-old, 17-year-old in this movie, which is fine. And she's I mean, I find Brittany Murphy incredibly attractive. She's definitely my type. Was definitely my type. With round face, dark hair, kind of pouty lips. You know, I have a very specific type we've discussed before. So in any case, but she also is not wearing a bra in a lot of the parts, except for the part where she takes her shirt off. And there's this one part when she's sparring with her dad, which it is useful for her at the end to kill the killer. But she's not wearing a bra, and I'm like, wouldn't you want to fucking have, if you like, call me weird, but if I was sparring with my daughter, with my teenage daughter, who now has a fully developed adult body, wouldn't you want her to be wearing a bra? Like, I don't know, it's just odd. And then because he falls on top of her, and this is a weird half-second beat, but they like look at each other, and then the doorbell rings, and I'm like, oh God, what the fuck? And then it's over, but I'm just like, why? What is the impetus for this?
Yeah, it was a very, very uncomfortable scene. The whole time I was watching, I was like, what the fuck? I thought they were going to kiss.
Yeah, it was
Spoiler
shades
alert.
of your first movie that you did with us, Sleepwalkers. So there's this joke that there's a joke in this movie that is literally just the equivalency of a 2018 meme where the principal is announcing that anybody who goes to this sex party will be, suspended or whatever. And the camera's just filming the exterior of the school, and it just keeps slowly zooming in closer and closer to where the school says, like, this building was erected in, and then it just zooms in on the word erected, and then school's let out.
Oh man, I really wish we would have gotten the original version of this movie, which would have been like funnier and also more artsy.
So that's the other thing, is that Scream said that they did everything in their power to find the original version of the movie that was way gorier, but even the director's like, I have no clue where that footage is. Like, the footage is just long gone. But apparently, like, that was the other thing. Beyond all the sex stuff, it was like hyper violent. And in this one, they barely show you any of the bodies. And when you see like the mutated principal's face, I'm like, man, I could have used a lot more of that. Like,
yeah.
Like this sliced open face with the words carved into his forehead and everything. Like, I want more of that, because it seems like the crime scenes are really gnarly. The way people are acting at them.
Yeah, but like, I have to talk to you guys about something. We did touch on this, on the part where Brittany Murphy takes her top off. How do you guys feel about that toe sucking scene?
I have a note. Toe sucking makes another appearance on Horror Movie Night.
This is so intense. She's like, suck it harder.
She's kicking him.
Yeah. And then she's like, don't you like my body? And I'm like, yes, Brittany Murphy, I like your body.
I also had a note that Kenny's feet are fucking massive. I don't know if it was the camera angle or what, but that dude's foot looks like it was 3 feet long. It is insane. But yeah, so we finally get to the whole
the
reveal.
Pop Your Cherry party, though. We got to talk about
the Pop Your Cherry.
Okay. Well, before we get to the Pop Your Cherry party, there's the typical creepy basement nursery. Seen a million times, guys. You know exactly where we're at.
Yeah, you love it. There's the line with Jay Mohr where he's acting real nice with her while she's helping him move this trunk into the room,
which is obviously filled with a body.
Yeah, and she goes, "What's in that trunk?" And he goes, "Your dad, maybe even mine." And it's like, ooh, that's creepy. Like, but yeah, the Pop Your Cherry party is this lovely, it's just like a 5-minute comedy piece.
Yeah. Did you write any notes down?
I didn't, so you go crazy.
Okay, so DJ Qual's only line. Hi, you ever play Deathquake?
Yeah.
Okay, but you have to wear a rubber. And then this other guy I didn't write down the entire quote because it wasn't funny, except for him saying, I think it might have been Ben, or Mark, but he refers to it as 10 minutes of beasting, and I thought that.
Oh, it's Ben, yeah, because she's like, I want all of your CDs. He's like, yeah, just not the imports. She's like, imports, bootlegs, everything. He's like, no. And then she puts his hand on her ass. He's like, okay. She's like, and I also need your snowboard. And he's like, no. And she puts it higher up on the ass. He's like, man, this just seems like a lot for 10 minutes of beasting. And
she goes, you'd be lucky if you get 10 seconds, right?
And he goes, you'd be lucky if I don't shoot you onto the wall when I go.
Yeah. Oh, God. That's a gross line, man.
So here's another fun fact, because this might explain DJ Qualls. Given the 30-day time frame to shoot the film, they went over budget and behind schedule early on in the shoot. Many of the scenes in the original script weren't even able to be filmed because of this. Scenes had to be rushed during filming where they had limited time and weren't able to return to locations after they left them. This means that many scenes in the final cut were the first and only takes.
Oh man. And then somebody also says, I always knew he was a butt pirate about Kenny, right?
Yeah.
Oh, have we talked about Kenny's ridiculous hair?
It's fantastic.
I mean, I had that hair. Well, I had sort of that haircut in like 99, 2000, whenever this movie came out. And I look back in shame.
Hey man, you look stylish.
Yeah, you look great, dude.
Thank you. Now it's falling out. So we have the same eye color, Dad. Like Jay Mohr is a horrible actor, and he's even worse in this movie. But I do love the "cause it makes me pretty" line, which is where we're at chronologically in the film. But then he has the worst slasher tagline where he goes, and by this point we've had what, 8 Freddy films, so you know there are a lot of really bad quips in those. But he goes, "Class dismissed."
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he's so bad at It's something. This movie's something. But yeah, all in all, fun movie. The deputy, I thought, did a terrible job.
Yeah, she's stuck. And then like that final jump scare is so dumb. Like, okay, Jay Mohr is he has been impaled on at least 3 large pieces of wood. There's no fucking way he's gonna try and stab DJ Qual or whoever it was that goes up to him at the end. No.
And then she unloads 2 guns into him.
That scene made me laugh so hard. Just the double-fisted guns. Like,
dude.
Like, I was actually
like you're playing Grand Theft Auto.
But then, yeah, and then there's still like but is he alive? It's like,
no fucking way. He
Yeah.
was Swiss cheese.
Yeah. But, all in all, I'm glad we finally got around to Cherry Falls. I feel like this was one that had bounced on and off of a bunch of our lists over the years.
Has it? Because I had completely forgotten about
it. Was on mine a bunch, and
Okay.
I kept being like, I need to rewatch it to see if it's worth talking about.
I think it was.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't seen it for so long. I'm like, I don't remember. I just remember that it was a weird twist on like a slasher movie. All in all, recommend it. It's not. I would say get the Blu-ray. I think that Shout Factory did a really great job with the Blu-ray release. A lot of great bonus features and all that good jazz. But now let's talk about what our double features would be.
And as is tradition, I'll go first because it's really, we need to get back to it where the person who picked goes first, because I feel like I stomp on people.
How dare you? But yeah,
how dare I? So actually, while we were on vacay, we watched the Happy Time Murders, which Megan picked, and you, Matt, did not like. Is that correct?
So what I said, here's the thing. I thought it was just okay. And my problem is that it leans too hard into the gross out humor and overstays on it. But if they had just done it as a straight up, like in the same vein of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's like, we're doing a hard boiled detective movie, but the comedy comes from the fact that there are puppets that are also involved in it and that they're being treated as like actual sentient things. I just think that would have been better. I liked it a lot. I just thought that like there's 2 or 3 scenes that lean real heavy into like Family Guy humor.
Oh,
the
silly string.
Yeah, like, which is fine, but like it kind of detracts from the rest of the movie at points.
Sure, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I loved it, and this is kind of a double up of like, what did we watch as well as a double feature, because I actually, yes, I watched them close together, but there are some definite overlaps in concepts where they're like pastiche, kind of stuff, and I think that it'd be kind of a fun double feature.
Yeah, no, and I do think that that was another one of those movies that got very unfairly trashed in the theaters, because I think it was like one of those movies that had like, an F score by a lot of critics. And I was like, it's like a solid B-. Like, I'm not saying that it's a masterpiece, but like it's enjoyable. It's got some flaws, but
would I watch it again? I don't know, but I mean, I thought that I was laughing my balls off half the time.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. I think that the jokes work. I think that the jokes throughout it are inconsistent at times.
Sure, but that's pretty much any Melissa McCarthy movie.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the better Melissa McCarthy movies. I think that they actually had a good character for her that wasn't just
Mhm.
like, I'm fat, I keep falling down. Like that's like she
But
like
she's not
leans.
even that fat.
I
Like
know, but that's like
Rebel
what
Wilson's much bigger than her.
that's just like, but both of them get cast in those same things, which I'm really glad that Melissa McCarthy's taken this turn as doing dramas, because she was like, I finally saw Can You Forgive Me, and she's phenomenal in it. Like she deserved the Oscar nominee that she got for it because she does a great job. She's a way better dramatic actress than a comedic actress
Well,
sometimes.
here's the
But
thing that I think that you may not remember because it's not a movie that most people think about, but she did a great dramatic turn in The Nines with Ryan Reynolds, who's also a
yeah,
comedic actor who is a phenomenal dramatic actor.
yeah. All right, so I will say that for my double feature, I don't know why I didn't write something down. Usually I have them written down in advance. So I'm going to lean to another film that, kind of in the same vein as this, did a very flip on the slasher genre at that time, and say April Fool's Day would be my double feature with
Oh, the
this.
remake of April Fool's Day
No,
or
no,
the
the
original?
original one from
89?
86 or
86
89.
or
It
whatever it
was
was.
because that was definitely a very satirical twist on the slasher genre at that time, and this feels like it's a satirical twist on the 90s
Sure.
slasher.
That's a great double feature. So would you go chronological? So you'd go April Fool's Day into Cherry Falls, or would you
Yeah,
reverse
yeah,
it?
I think that works. April Fool's Day into Cherry Falls. All right, Brian, your double feature.
So I'm gonna go with something that we may discuss in the future, possibly. Another movie that I haven't seen in very long, and I actually don't know if I've seen the whole thing. It just happened to be on TV one day. But you mentioned that the one guy in it is good friends with Zach Braff. So I'm gonna pick another 90s slasher with a good friend of Zach Braff. 1998's I've Been Waiting for You, starring
I've never
Never
heard
Sarah
of
even
it.
heard of
Chalk.
it.
Yeah.
No,
I
I've never
don't
even
know.
heard of it.
I don't know if it was made for TV because I didn't see it on like HBO. But yeah, maybe I should rewatch it first because I saw like 15 minutes and I was very high. Um, but yeah, I would pair it with that.
All right. Well, and Scott, do you have a movie you want to talk about?
I do.
Because I think Brian and I will both be talking about the same movie this week.
I watched Never Hike Alone by our buddy Vince,
Oh, nice.
and it is so good. It is like it is. I really only have one qualm, and it's the fact that it was a male character versus Jason, and I just like seeing Final Girls a lot. That's just a personal preference. I think that the male actor, though, he carries the whole movie, which I mean, it's an interesting concept because it's a full length, quote unquote, because it's an hour long, but it's like there's that little bit of questionability because yeah, it's a fan film, but it's 50 or 55 or 59 minutes long, so I guess it's considered a full length film, but it's easily the best fan film I've ever seen, and also one of the better Friday the 13th movies, in my opinion. I would put it up there in the top 5. It's that good.
Nice. And that makes me excited because I've talked about this before. When I become friends with someone who makes film, I become nervous to actually watch their stuff because I'm like, but what if I hate it? So like that makes me excited. I'm gonna have to watch it as well then, because Vince is the shit. And you heard him a couple weeks ago on our Puppet Master 4 episode.
And he's
So
got a voice like butter.
oh, absolutely. So we teased this last week, so let's talk about it. Stranger Things season 3.
What
So
a
good.
fucking show, man.
I think it's my favorite season of the series.
Hands down, by far, Megan and I agreed that it is the most entertaining.
It was so good. And the thing was, I was iffy about it going into it because I was like, Stranger Things season 1 was great. I feel like Stranger Things season 2 was just okay. And then we watched the recap before we watched Stranger Things season 3, and I was like, Stranger Things season 2 was pretty awesome too.
See, so the biggest issue with Stranger Things season 2 is that there's one or two episodes that kind of add very little to the plot that
Yeah.
just ruin the season, because all the stuff with 11 kind of going off on her own, they definitely slowed down the pace of the rest of that season, and it's not in a good way. Like I don't think, here's the way to word it. they hadn't figured out how to properly juggle all of these characters being in different places by season 2, and season 3 they mastered not having to have this whole ensemble together at once, but having these little pockets of mini groups doing stuff and making it all connect and be constant forward motion with that.
Yeah.
I
I
thought that it
did
was so
notice.
cool that they all were like. I know some people were upset by that, but I loved it.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
dude,
were they were
I
all
want a
doing their
show
own
of just
thing.
Steve and Dustin just hanging
Yeah.
Yeah.
out.
I did kind of ruin Jackie's night when I guessed on the ghouls because we were talking about Stranger Things season 3, and I did point out that they really teach a terrible lesson when it comes to Steve, because the pretty much if you're taking life lessons from that character, it's like if you're just a bad person and you're an asshole, you'll have it all. You have the
Yeah.
world. Once you change and you start to have compassion, you lose everything. You work at an ice cream shop, your best friend is a child with a lisp, and that's your life moving forward.
And you fall in love with a lesbian. I related so much
Pink
to Steve
triangle.
this season.
Pink triangle.
Yeah, no, I hated Steve in season 1, and
Yep.
in season 2, or in season 3, I connected the most with Will and Steve. I was like, yep. I'm
I'm
friends with a bunch of children. I keep falling for lesbians.
And I
so
have a
And
panic disorder.
I have a
Scott.
panic disorder, and I wanna play video games in the basement with my friends forever. So
Scott, how did you swallow the last episode? Because you know me, I'm a little sensitive. Matt is Nathan Lane in Birdcage, but you don't like to feel anything.
Feel feelings.
Yeah,
You mean Hopper?
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, he's not gone. I knew he wasn't gone. He's the American that they show in the post credits or the mid credit scene.
So I saw post credits 3 days later after someone told me.
Oh. No, I knew that they were going to be there because it's just kind of like an expectation. It was so funny. We're seeing Midsummer and people were like staying. I'm like, there's nothing after this.
Yeah,
It's like Marvel has ruined people, the expectations there. And it's so much funnier when they don't do them and people are like wasting 10 minutes of their lives. That just
although
makes me chuckle.
I did get smoked on Vice for thinking the same thing. Like we got up and left Vice, and I was mocking everyone to Jade. I'm like, look at these idiots that are obsessed with Marvel sitting to the end of fucking Vice, and apparently there is something at the end of the movie.
But
Yeah,
that's
but it's
also
like-
very odd.
And it's
Yeah.
like 10 seconds. It's nothing crucial. And also Vice wasn't that good.
I enjoyed
So
Vice.
we saw well, two of us saw a movie this weekend, and we already talked about a decent chunk of it, so I got most of it out of my system. But Brian and I both saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I can say that it is the most Quentin Tarantino movie that's ever Quentin Tarantino'd.
So I would hate it.
But I enjoyed it. I think it's a weird blend of like the best bits of Pulp Fiction mixed with the best bits of Inglourious Bastards is what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is. So if you liked those two particular Tarantino movies, you'll enjoy it. If you hated those movies, you're definitely not going to like this one either.
So wait, what if you liked Inglourious Bastards and don't care about Pulp Fiction? You don't hate it, but you just don't care.
So it's definitely more Inglourious Bastards than Pulp Fiction, but it does the Pulp Fiction jumping around from different times to like instead of telling it as a linear story, it'll be like they'll mention something in dialogue and then it will jump back to a couple years ago to give you the context of that piece of dialogue and then jump back into the linear story.
Yeah,
which
but
is fine.
It's not as all over as Pulp Fiction for sure.
Yeah, it's
Like,
definitely more. It's heading in a direction, but it is kind of. One of the reviews I said that I read was on Geekscape, where they gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and they said something along the lines of the movie proves that even bad Tarantino is very good Tarantino. And they said like there are points where you do feel like the movie's dragging, and then you get to the last 30 minutes, and all of it seems like it was worth it. Like it pays off everything so well by the end. But I was laughing my balls off in the last like 15 minutes. It's such a good twist.
I wouldn't even put this as bad Tarantino. I get what they're saying as far as like bad, like a not great Tarantino movie is a great movie anywhere else. Like I would probably put Death Proof and Jackie Brown, where like they're
Yeah,
two,
those are the two that I revisit the least.
but they're good movies. It's just you expect so much from Quentin Tarantino, and I get that you don't. The one thing that like I get frustrated with is I got in an argument with a few friends of like saying that Quentin Tarantino makes bad movies, and it's like I just bring Led Zeppelin into it. Like I don't listen to Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin is not my type of music, but I will not say that they're not a great band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to not say that Quentin Tarantino isn't a very talented director. He may be a little much. He may be an asshole sometimes on set. Um,
Well, it's like the example I always use is I get real frustrated. It's fine if you don't like the Beatles, but to say the Beatles suck is like one of those things that infuriates me because I'm
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
no. I get it. Like,
yeah,
but you have to accept that people, a lot of things like the Beatles, Zeppelin, Tarantino,
yeah,
fucking Stanley Kubrick. I get because I have
yeah, they're not
problems,
for everybody. Yeah,
but they're
like,
famous
uh,
and they're cult for a reason.
yeah,
now
and
I
that's the
feel
thing.
like I'm one of those people. Damn it,
What?
Scott.
Because
Because I think Kubrick is a hack. Like I don't. It's not like
I
oh
don't
he's
like
good. He's
Kubrick
not my
either.
type of movie.
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't think
think
he makes
that
good movies.
I think that Kubrick, I think that Kubrick was able to make. Here's the thing: Kubrick is definitely a piece of his time. So it's like what he was doing in the late 60s and 70s is really impressive for like what was coming out at that time, but he never like was able to evolve with the years. So like his 80s and 90s movies are just leaning on the exact same stuff that he's always done, and it doesn't work, which is the one thing that I think is the difference between someone who's revolutionary and someone who's actually a talent. Is like a revolutionary can create something and do something that really fits for their time period, but someone who's truly talented can also continuously evolve with the times while still being revolutionary.
That's cool. I like that. I hadn't thought about
Yeah,
that.
so that's the biggest strike I think against Kubrick is like, you know, is 2001 kind of just a 2-hour nonsense film? Yeah, but so was everything that was coming out at that time. That was just the best of the nonsense art films.
So
Yeah.
here's a question though: Was 2001: A Space Odyssey a book first? Wasn't it a book first? Because I
It
know
was a book first,
I
and
read
I've
the
tried to
book.
read it and I still don't understand.
I think that it works well as a book, but I think that the movie actually is a more um,
I mean,
accessible version of the story
The
because it's so
Shining has
visual.
taught us that Kubrick does not know how to adapt books, but
Very true. I think that 2001 is a better adaptation, though.
yeah. And I heard a Stephen King quote about The Shining that actually makes a lot of sense to me, and it helped me understand my feelings for that movie. Is that Stephen King, no longer says that he hates The Shining, but he says that it's a beautiful Chevy with no engine in it. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
I'm like, that sums it up. So because it's one, like, I can never take away from the fact that it is beautifully shot, but there's no like, it doesn't have the heart and soul that the book has that drives it at all. Like it's just visual storytelling without emotion. Um, but yeah, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to spoil what it is, but it is funny. Everyone brings their all in this movie, and there's so many cameos just everywhere. But it's a good movie. I'm glad I watched it. It might make it into the lower tier of my top 10, but I have to see what comes out over the next like 7 months. But it's in the top 10 right now for sure.
It's my favorite of 2019 so far. It beat
Yeah,
out
but you still haven't
Midsummer for
seen
me.
Booksmart.
Neither have I.
I don't know if Booksmart will beat it, but I will see Booksmart.
So what are your guys' favorites of the year? So Brian, Once Upon a Time is yours so far.
Mine's Booksmart. I think that Booksmart is such a, and I talked about it when it first came out, but it is an equal combination of a really well written script, a really touching concept, a lot of like great comedy and jokes scattered among it, and it explores so many different types of genres. It's not like any teen flick that I've ever seen, and I've heard a couple other people put it as like it was the only movie for me that when I walked out of it, I was like wowed by it. Like I think that's the problem with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is that I wasn't wowed by it only because I've seen everything that Tarantino did. So I was like, okay, yeah, this
Oh
is
yeah.
par for the course. Like I'm not blown away by this.
It felt
Versus,
familiar.
yeah, it felt familiar. Where like Booksmart felt like completely just nothing I'd ever seen before. So I was like, okay, I know that it's just a teen flick about two girls graduating high school, but this feels very different than anything I've seen. So that's, although I'm pretty sure that Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks is going to just skyrocket to number one because I'll be crying for an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I cry when the trailer plays. I'm like, I hear that piano and I'm just like, oh.
You sound like Frank in Return of the Living Dead. Yeah. Oh Jesus! Oh God!
Jesus. Yeah, no, it's bad, dude. I just have to hear that piano play, and I'm like, "Oh, Mr. Rogers was such a blessing to this world."
The thing is that I cried when I watched "Won't You Be My Neighbor," but I don't know if I really care to see "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood."
I don't know. I just feel like there's just even lines in the trail. I mean, I know they're good at trailers at figuring out what's the line, the getcha lines in there. And man, there's like 2 or 3 getcha lines where I'm like, and it's Tom Hanks. Like I saw someone bitching like, oh, Tom Hanks is just playing all these famous people. I'm like, because he's a beloved actor who can do it.
Yeah. And you know, when we were driving, when Megan and I were on our road trip, we were talking about Anton Yelchin and how he was just such an insane method actor. And I said, you know, I feel like if he hadn't died, he would be our generation's Tom Hanks. And Megan said, yeah, 100%. People say that. And I'm like, I didn't know that, but it's good to be in good company. But I mean, it's it's super tragic and a huge loss to American cinema, I would say. But
absolutely. And I just think like I love the meme that's been going around about the PBS cinematic.
Oh yes, that would be amazing.
I'm excited for that too.
I wanted to say one thing about Tom Hanks's Mr. Rogers because Megan and I years ago went to a small theater to see My Weekend with Marilyn, which stars Michelle Williams as Marilyn Monroe, and it is a phenomenal.
I've heard that.
Movie.
I still haven't seen it, but I heard that movie's amazing.
I highly recommend it. But the thing is that Megan and I were sitting there in the theater, and the first 5 minutes of Michelle Williams as Marilyn Monroe. The voice, we were like, this is like, I can't tell if it's a bad impression because the voice wasn't exactly what you were expecting. And then 10 minutes later, you're just totally immersed. And so maybe Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers is not immersing me yet. So I'm sure that I'll see the movie and probably in a theater because Megan will want to see it. But it'll probably be the same way.
I think it's just one of those things where like I feel like Mr. Rogers is especially becoming more and more popular and prevalent right now, just because I feel like, I know speaking for myself, I need reminders of the kindness that does exist in the world sometimes because you get so overwhelmed by the opposite.
The negativity. And also how hard he fought. Like that was the thing about the documentary that was so powerful to me was that he fought so strongly, but he was so calm. And that's something that I think that I personally need to work very hard at because I'm a very intense person. And so when I argue for something, it sounds argumentative when I want it to sound compassionate. Yeah.
And I just think that we need more Mr. Rogers right now. So I'm excited for that. Let's talk about one thing real quick, just because I know Brian doesn't care, but I want to know, Scott, did you hear the announcements, all the Marvel announcements at Comic-Con?
Oh yeah.
So what, I just want to know, I was going to say, what is the thing that you're most excited about from those announcements? Because you're like the Marvel guy like me.
Oh man. I need to, I can't even, MCU Phase 4.
Yeah, I can just read the list. I have it.
I want to see, there's a picture. There's an infographic. So some of it, so it's the thing that all the release dates starting in 2020, right? So I have to remember what's what. So Falcon and Winter. So do you want me to go through the timeline of it, or do you want me to go through just the movies and then just the shows, or what?
Let's go through all of it. Let's go through the timeline real quick.
Okay.
We'll make this the mega episode.
I'm not super interested in Black Widow because I don't know. I mean, I really like Scarlett Johansson, but I don't think that there's a whole lot of meat on that bone. Although
No.
if they talk about the red center or whatever it's called that makes the Black Widows, I could get into it. But also, you're missing so much of Black Widow without Logan and Wolverine because they were lovers. Like, it was a really big part of 1980s X-Men. So I don't know. But then they're doing Falcon and Winter Soldier on the Disney Plus
Stuff,
streaming service, which I'm okay with. And help me remember to go back to the future of Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because I do want to talk about that after I get through all these. So Eternals, I'm pretty stoked for.
I love that Camille's in there. Like, that makes me happy that Camille's getting that Marvel paycheck.
That's exactly what I said to Mario. I was like, so I saw the infographic. I sent it to him and I, from SDCC, and I was like, dude, I'm super stoked that Camille's going to be getting that MCU money.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I know nothing about the Eternals. Like, I really don't
either. And I'm not going to do my research yet.
No, I'm going to go into it the same way I did with Guardians. Just wow me and make me be in love with these guys.
Right. I'll probably do a little bit of digging, but I don't want to know too much. I'll probably wait for the preview, the trailer, and then I'll do a little bit of research once my interest is piqued. Because they fucked up the what was the TV show that they fucked up so bad?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No. It was the offshoot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm blanking on it because I didn't watch it because it was so fucking bad. But Shang-Chi, I'm excited for because I'm assuming it's going to be a more supernatural Iron Fist, which
I don't know who that is, but Awkwafina is
it.
supposed to be in it, and I think Awkwafina's hysterical, so keep on going with that.
Yeah. WandaVision on Disney Plus, I really could not give less of a shit about. I mean, I love Elizabeth Olsen. I think that she's a great Wanda, but I also just don't. The Disney Plus stuff is going to be a lot harder sell for me because, one, I'm not going to watch it unless somebody has a login or I torrent it. Sorry, Disney, but I'm not going to pay for their service.
So found out also, I was blown away because I already knew the price was going to be super low with $4.99. But you also get free Hulu through it as well.
Oh, well, then that's the thing is we'll probably just cancel our Hulu and then we'll get the Disney
move
Plus.
that money. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it'll be like a couple bucks more than what we pay. And all Megan usually pays for our Hulu, but I will pay for that now.
Yeah.
So she'll just pay for
I was
Netflix.
like, they really know what they're doing, trying to just take down all these
smart.
streaming services.
Well, that's super smart because we won't get rid of Hulu because Handmaid's Tale is on it.
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and
there's
15.
Well, they
there's
own
one
it now.
thing. Yeah, there's one thing that's on Disney Plus that I can't wait for you to get to because that's the one I'm most excited about. But keep going.
Okay, well, the thing I'm most excited about is May 7th, 2021, we get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Which they're saying is going to be their first horror movie, which really has me curious.
Well, dude, if it's anybody, it's going to be Doctor Strange. And he's going to be fighting Dormammu. Again, I'm assuming. And I assume that... oh, God, who's the guy that is like killing off the wizards in the end of the... I can't remember his name.
I can't remember, but
he was in Love Actually, and he was in Serenity, you know.
But yeah, that's going to be fucking dope. I'm excited to see that. I love that we are going to just dive head into this multiverse.
Yeah, and that's what I want.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, and also... I won't really touch on it. I want to do a discussion next week on Into the Spider-Verse because I have a lot of great things to say about it, and I want to kind of talk to you guys about what you liked and didn't like because I know you guys had mixed emotions. But super stoked on the way that they're expanding things, and I think that that's how it's cool how Phase 4 is kind of taking the idea of the multiverse because of Thanos using the gauntlet.
Yeah,
and going with it. So I'm not excited about Loki on Disney Plus because I really want Tom Hiddleston to be done.
Yeah.
So unless they're going to recast it, I don't really care.
But then there's something else that's coming to Disney Plus that I'm fucking all on.
What if?
For. What if, man?
Dude, those were some of the best comic books in the 80s.
That is going to be, and it's going to be an animated show.
Cool.
It's Jeffrey Wright. He's the voice of the Watcher, who's going to be the Crypt Keeper for every episode. Like, I'm like, this is going to be so fucking fun.
I'm so glad they're bringing the Watcher in because I didn't read anything about that.
Yeah, no, that's like that's the thing I'm really excited about. But there's 2 more still that we have to talk about.
I don't care about Hawkeye.
Or 3 more. I can care less about Hawkeye, but
Lady Thor, Jane coming back. Natalie Portman. And I was talking to Mario about it. And he's like, I hate Natalie Portman. I think she's a terrible actress and boring. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I love Natalie Portman. She can do no wrong in my eyes.
That's gonna be fucking dope.
And it's also Waititi is gonna do it again, right?
Yeah. So it's gonna be hysterical. And then the really big news, just in case they're lying to us about how horror-based Doctor Strange is going to be, we're getting a new fucking Blade movie.
Yes! Oh, yes! With Mahershala Ali, 2-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali. Which is going to open up Morbius, the living vampire. Probably they're going to bring the Darkhold from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in and have the Darkhold Redeemers. I mean, they could do a whole dark MCU. I'm waiting.
It's insane to me as I step away from it and like look at this. Like I used to say, like 13-year-old me would have loved being able to see all of these superhero movies. 13-year-old me wouldn't have even thought it was possible for where we've gotten in the cinematic universe. Like, this is so like deep cut D-list characters that are getting this amazing attention. Like, this is, and the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, they have such a good track record. There's like 2 movies that they've done that I think were like less than amazing. Like
it's Thor 2 and Age of Ultron. Those are the only 2 bad ones, and they're not even that bad.
They're not even. Thor 2 is the only one that I really can't watch. There's elements that I like about Age of Ultron a lot more, but yeah, it's insane to have this many movies be this good consistently. But we've talked to death while Brian sat silently to the side. So let's just wrap it up. That was Cherry Falls from 2000. In case you forgot, that was also Scott and I geeking out about comic nerd stuff because that's what we do. And you know what? I've been thinking about this as we're getting more and more involved in all this stuff, and we're loving what we do, and we love this podcasting stuff. If you guys are into us doing a couple more random, like 15-20 minute bonus episodes on your feed where it's just Scott and I geeking out about a new Marvel movie or like discussing all of a new season of Stranger Things or Sabrina when it comes out as these little mini-sodes, I'm down to do it. I'm sure Brian and Scott are down to do it. So like, let's keep that in the back of our brains for the future. But in the present, we got more stuff coming on. We've got a little movie coming up next week. It's kind of not as well loved as it is, but it's a little creepy. And we're going to be talking about that before we dive into Listener Submit It Month the following week. But next week will also be at Creature Feature Weekend. You definitely want to come down and check it out. Scott's going to be cosplaying. I'm going to be hanging out at the table. There's going to be panels that I'm probably hosting. I think the Jersey Ghouls are going to be there hosting some stuff. I know for a fact that if we're able to, we'll be doing a live horror movie night with our good friend Joshua Does Cosplay. Even if we don't get to do a live one, we'll record something in a hotel room. And you can check out all of the cool stuff that's going down on hmnpodcast.com. Hit up our Patreon at patreon.com/hmnpodcast, or you can go to all of our social media, HMN Podcast. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. Ba-ba-bam!
That was fantastic.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.